Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
We're learning Mishna Yevamos, Perikid Beis, chapter 12, Mishnah Aleph, Mishnah 1. Mitzvahs Chalitza, the mitzvah of Chalitza. So as we know, a man dies without children. His brother has a mitzvah of Yibam to marry his sister-in-law, his brother's wife. If, let's say, decides that he doesn't want to do it, or, as we learned many other cases where he's not allowed to do it, but he's got to perform a Chalitza, because without performing a Chalitza, she will still be bound to him. The factor is a mitzvah of Yibam says that she has a zika. That's the word used for the Yibam bond between him and her, between the brothers and her, and she may not marry anybody else until that bond is removed. So if he doesn't perform Yibam, he has to do Chalitza. Now, Chalitza has three parts to it. That's just a little introduction here. There are three parts to Chalitza. The Yevama, meaning the wife of the man who died, removes the shoe from the Yevam's foot. She removes a shoe from her brother-in-law, from her husband's brother's foot. She spits in front of him, and he and she say certain verses from the Torah, from the section of the Torah that deals with the mitzvah of Yibam. So there are three parts. Okay? So now, the first thing the Mishnah says is mitzvahs chalitza. The mitzvah of chalitza, b'shleisha dayanim, is performed in front of three judges that has arrived from the Torah. You have to have three judges. You have to have a beis din. You have to have a rabbinical court in order to perform chalitza. Now, va'afilu shlosha nadotis, even if they are three laymen, that means they are not official judges necessarily. They are not necessarily scholars. They're not necessarily can be judges in other areas, or even judges in regarding to chalitza. The only thing they have to know to do is read Hebrew. That's all they have to know, because all they really have to do is basically dictate to the Yavam and to the Yevama, dictate to the wife and to the brother-in-law the verses they must say during the ceremony. That's it. That's all you need from them. Okay? They don't have to know the laws of chalitza. They don't have to even know the laws of chalitza. Somebody better know. Hopefully somebody knows what they're doing there. But at the end of the day, they don't have to be knowledgeable in the laws of chalitza. They just have to be present and dictate the verses that they have to recite, which means they have to know Hebrew for that. Okay, so that's the first part. Three judges, even laymen. Next, chalza b'minol, chalitza sekshera. She removed a shoe. Now the minol. Now we have we have certain words that we typically use for a shoe. Minol is one of them. Minol here in the Mishnah specifically means a soft shoe. A soft shoe. She went ahead and she removed a soft shoe. Chalitza sekshera. The chalitza is kosher. Now, if the Mishnah says the chalitza is kosher, that doesn't sound like go ahead and do a chalitza with this shoe. It means if you did it, it's kosher, which means initially you're not supposed to use such a soft shoe, but if you did, it's good enough. What's the issue? So the point is like this: a shoe, to be considered a shoe, has to protect your foot. Okay, the thing is the following: the reason why the Chachamim did not want using a soft shoe is for the following reason. I'm going to read it to you here. A torn shoe is not valid for chalitza. Torn shoe. How torn is it? I'm not sure exactly. Torn shoe. Okay, is not valid for chalitza because it's not considered a shoe. It's torn enough that it's not providing protection. It's not protecting the foot. However, people will sometimes wear a torn shoe of this kind since the leather is soft and the shoe straps hold the torn pieces in place. I don't know how to picture this. I don't know what the exact case is. It's torn. It's really not a good shoe. However, if it's soft, with the straps, you can strap it all together and keep it together. So fine, people will wear that kind of a shoe, but you can't use that shoe for chalitza. So to prevent people from mistakenly using such a torn shoe for chalitza, the rabbis decreed that that anything made from a soft leather cannot be used. Meaning, if you can use the soft leather, which could be worn when torn, you can get by wearing it when torn. We're afraid, well, if you use a soft shoe for chalitza, you may to use it when you can't use it, which is when it's torn. But you're going to say, hey, a soft shoe, I can keep it together. I can make something out of it. And therefore, you'll think it's okay, and it's not okay. And therefore, the Chachamim say, no soft shoe. You got to use a hard shoe. The word that's going to be used is a sandal, which we translate as a sandal. But that's not what it is in Mishnah's terms. It even has a cover on top. The point is, it's hard. A hard leather shoe that breaks, that tears, you can't do anything with it. And therefore, if we want you to use a hard leather shoe in order not to come to think that, a torn shoe would be, in order not to land up trying to use a torn soft shoe. Again, if you use a soft shoe, even if it's a good shoe, we don't want you to use that because you may come to use a torn soft shoe. Therefore, use the hard shoe. By hard shoes, you're not going to run into a problem of using it if it's broken or torn. If it's broken. Okay, next. Ba'anpilin. She performed chalitza with anpilin. Anpilin is a cloth shoe. A cloth shoe. Chalitzasa psula. That is an invalid chalitza. A cloth shoe isn't going to do much for your foot. It doesn't protect the foot, and therefore it is not considered a shoe. It is not considered what the Torah wants you to use for chalitza. Bisandol sheyesh loy akev kosher. A sandal, which is a hard leather shoe that has a heel, kosher, you can use that. V'she'ein loy akev, but if it doesn't have a heel, puzzle. Some kind of a shoe without a heel. And the problem is, because it doesn't have a heel, it's going to slip off. It slips off easily. And therefore, that is not considered a valid shoe either. Okay? Right. They say here, because such a shoe slips off the wearer's foot, they're therefore not valid for a chalitza. Why he starts wearing such a shoe? I don't know. I guess he can't afford better shoes. But since it slips off, or it tends to slip off, that's not called a shoe, and therefore you cannot use it for chalitza. All right. Next part. Next part is in with the following. The shoe is on the foot. The strap, right, can wrap around, however these straps are, but the straps wraps around the shoe along the foot. What if the shoe wraps, or you wrap the shoe wraps, hold on a second. Right. What if the shoe straps are wrapped above the foot, meaning on the leg? Because what's going to happen is, you're going to put on the shoe, you strap it on, she unties it. So now we're talking about here where the shoe is strapped on, not around the foot, but above the foot, on the leg. Does that make any difference? So it says the Mishnah like this. If it's strapped from the arkuva, from the knee and below, chalitza sekshera, the chalitza is good. But if let's say it's strapped above the knee, chalitza sepasula, in that case, the chalitza is not valid. This is because the Torah does not require the chalitza shoe to belong. I'm sorry, look at the wrong part. The Torah states regarding the chalitza, she shall remove his shoe from upon his foot. The sages explain this as saying, she shall remove the shoe from the limb which is above the foot. That means that basically we learn from a pasuk that she has to remove the shoe. She can remove the shoe from the foot or from the limb that's above the foot, which is the calf, right? But once you're getting above the knee and you're getting into the thigh, right? That's already called that's called that the shoe is on the limb above the limb that's above the foot. That's not what the Torah wants. The Torah wants the foot or the limb above the foot. But the one even further back, if you strap it up there, it's considered like the shoe is there. It's not just on the foot. The shoe is on, or part of the shoe is on the thigh. That's not what the Torah wants. And therefore, in that situation, if it was strapped above the knee, the chalitza would not be a kosher chalitza.
Left shoe or the right shoe?
We'll see. Okay. Next. So therefore, so the Chaim was talking about that in a situation where you are going ahead to, you're supposed to give the guy techacha. You're supposed to speak to him first. Don't tell others about what he did. Speak to him first before you tell others. And if it comes out that you did speak to him and he didn't listen to you, or he's the kind of person who won't listen to you, says the Chofetz Chaim, then you're allowed to tell it in front of people, but make sure it's in front of three. And he says the reason is because if you don't do it in front of three people, it'll look like you're trying to hide it from the person you're trying to reveal his wrongdoing. If you say it in front of three, that means you're not afraid that I'll get around and get back to him. And if you're going to do it in a way that it looks like trying to conceal it from him, then that means you're not being sincere. Behind his back, you're trying to put him down, and in front of his face, you're trying to be his friend. Another reason is because what he's saying is like this. Another reason why you have to go ahead and rebuke him is because if you didn't go to him first, then people are going to say, why aren't you going to him first? Why are you just going to other people? It must be that there's something wrong with what you're saying, and therefore the whole thing is going to be undermined. Therefore, you have to go ahead and say in front of three people. So again, it means the guy's going to know about it. They're not going to be choshed you that it's not true because you're publicizing it. And typically a person is not going to spread lies in public. So therefore, we say that the situation here is that make sure, again, you rebuke, make sure you're in front of three. If you don't do it in front of three, people again will think you want to keep it away from the person you're speaking about. You never approached him first. And they're going to think that, why didn't you approach him? Because it's really not true what you're saying. So therefore, you got to make sure to do it in a way that everybody understands that you're not afraid for him to know about it. And therefore, the fact that you're now publicizing it will give validity to what you're saying, because people are going to say, get up and publicize lies is not something typical to be done. And therefore, they will believe and accept what you're doing, which is what you are trying to accomplish here. Because don't forget, you're not just doing it for no reason. You're spreading it to other people in order for a constructive purpose. The Chofetz Chaim is saying you're not going to be able to accomplish that unless you go out and do it in front of three people. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful Shabbos.
Thank you, Rabbi.